Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is part 5 of the Tafsir book, Pondering over the Quran, Tadabbur al-Quran, by the famous Indian scholar Amin Ahsan Islahi, the student of the renowned Indian scholar of Tafsir Hamiduddin Farahi, who also authored a book by the title of Nazm al-Quran, or Coherence of the Quran. We continue reading in the Tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha. Rationale of the Surah. Arguments for Tawheed, belief in the oneness of God. In this Surah we begin by acknowledging that Allah alone deserves our gratitude and thanksgiving. In consequence of our observation of the signs of divine providence within our own lives and the universe around us. Take for instance the case of a human child, or even a most insignificant species of animal. Long before it is born and enters the realm of existence, all the necessary provisions for it are in place, with everything in nature, large or small, working towards this end, to nurse, nurture, and provide the necessary sustenance for the newcomer. The movements of the sun and the moon appear to be geared to the same end, as are indeed the clouds, the winds, and the other natural elements. Furthermore, this provision and care is not confined to any specific part of our material existence. As we look closely, we find that it is all pervasive and embraces our entire existence. Not only our body, but our spirit as well is being nourished. Not only does our capacity to reason grow and mature, our spiritual life too is constantly enriched and improved. No part of our being is deprived, neglected, or excluded from this all-inclusive material and spiritual sustenance. Our Creator and Sustainer, whose infinite power and boundless wisdom is manifest in His creation, the heavens and the earth, does not need our help or support, nor is He in any way beholden to us and obliged to lavish such care and concern on our welfare and well-being. We human beings owe our existence solely to His grace and mercy. The only reasonable explanation of this all-pervasive providential care must be the unbounded beneficence and mercy of the Creator. The fact that, first and foremost, He is Ar-Rahman, the most gracious, and Ar-Rahim, the ever merciful. It is His overflowing beneficence and mercy that gives life and form, and it is His grace that stands guard and watches over the well-being and the welfare, the nourishment and the sustenance of His creation. Arguments for belief in Al-Akhirah, the life after, the life hereafter. Manifestations of such overwhelming and all-pervasive beneficence. Manifestations of such overwhelming and all-pervasive beneficence open up fresh avenues of understanding. The human being realizes the inevitability of and need for a day of reckoning, the day when all powers shall rest with Allah only, and He shall judge people in equity and justice, requiting the wicked for their evil and rewarding the righteous for their good and virtue, most graciously and generously. Most graciously and generously. How do these manifestations of Allah's beneficence and mercy lead us to realize the need and inevitability of a day of reckoning and recompense? The Quran at various places refers to Allah's providence and mercy to show that a day of reckoning is inevitable. Consider, for instance, what it says about the heavens and the earth. Allah has made the earth a cradle for us, and the heaven a canopy above it. He has made the sun and the moon to shine and brighten our world. He has pressed into our service diverse forces and elements of nature such as winds and the clouds, and has fully provided for all our needs, apparent, hidden, moral, spiritual, and physical, in a most appropriate manner. Has He created all these in vain and without any higher purpose? Is it possible that He created and then abandoned us, leaving us to our own little devices? Or has this universe been created by its Creator in mere sport and jest, with no higher purpose or goal behind its creation? Or is the human being just a wayward creature let loose to prance and pasture at will, with no accountability or responsibility? If this is what you think the surah informs us, then you are seriously mistaken. The whole creation, with the providential care that pervades it, is crying out, as it were, to make us aware that the care and blessings showered on us are indeed for a higher and nobler purpose. Those enjoying these blessings without any right to them must also share the responsibility that goes with them. Everyone will be questioned about these obligations and responsibilities on the day of decision. Those who fulfill their obligations faithfully and honestly would be blessed with lasting success and happiness, and those who ignore them do so to their own detriment. They will be humiliated and deprived that day. The Quran has described this essential fact in various forms. For the sake of brevity, we quote only one example here. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضَ مِهَادًا وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا. Have we not made the earth a cradle for you and set the mountains as stabilizers therein? And we created you in pairs, and we made your sleep a remover of trouble. And we made the night a covering for you, and the day a time of earning your livelihood. And we set above you 7 strong heavens, and we placed therein a radiant lamp, and we sent down from the clouds water in abundance, so that we might produce thereby corn and plants and lush gardens. Indeed, the day of decision has been fixed. Surah An-Naba, Quran chapter 78, verses 6 to 17. Indeed, the day of decision has been fixed. That is, all the things mentioned above clearly indicate that every blessing is accompanied by a responsibility. For there are no privileges without responsibility. Can the human being hope to enjoy these divine blessings and gifts without bearing his share of the responsibility that goes with their enjoyment? Indeed not. The need for a day of decision to judge the good and the evil, to reward the one and punish the other. The final day of judgment is an essential consequence of Allah's grace and mercy. The fact that He is Ar-Rahman, the most gracious, and Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the ever merciful, and most indeed must bring about a day to judge between the good and the evil, rewarding the one for goodness and punishing the other for evil. For how can God, most gracious and ever merciful, treat alike the oppressors and the oppressed, the good and the evil, the rebellious and the faithful, and fail to discriminate between them, neither requiting the oppressor for injustice and cruelty, nor avenging the wrong suffered by their victims? If human life comes to an end with our physical death, and there is really no day of reckoning thereafter, a day of requital for readdressing grievances it would clearly imply that, in the sight of the Creator of this world, there is little difference between the good and the bad, the virtuous and the vicious, the faithful and the treacherous. In fact, sinners and criminals would, in such an eventuality, be relative winners, for it would mean that Allah gives them free rein to indulge in crimes or corruption without accountability. This is fundamentally wrong and unjust, as it negates Allah's grace and mercy, contradicting the fact that He is good, contradicting the fact that He is God, most gracious and ever merciful. It is in this context that the Quran categorically refutes the notion of freedom without responsibility as a slander against Allah. أَفَنَجْعَلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَالْمُجْرِمِينَ مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. Shall we then treat those who surrender themselves to us as we would treat those lost in sin? What is the matter with you? How do you judge? Surah Al-Qalam, Quran chapter 68, verses 35 and 36. In other words, as Allah is most gracious and ever merciful, He will certainly one day gather before Him all men and women to judge them with full justice and recompense everyone according to his or her performance in this earthly life. According to his or her performance in this earthly life. The Quran says, كتب على نفسه الرحمة ليجمعنكم إلى يوم القيامة لا ريب فيه. He has prescribed for Himself mercy. He will certainly gather you together on the day of resurrection. He will certainly gather you together on the day of resurrection, the coming of which is beyond any doubt. The coming of which is beyond any doubt whatever. Surah Al-An'am, Quran chapter 6, verse 12. This verse clearly shows that the day of judgment is in fact a manifestation of Allah's mercy, rahmah, that He has prescribed for Himself. The advent of a day of judgment is thus inevitable. All people will be gathered that day before their sovereign sustainer to be judged by Him with perfect justice. By implication, it means that on that day no one shall have any power or be in a position to interfere in any way with His perfect judgment, either through intercession or otherwise, making the good appear evil or evil seem good. Everyone will get what he or she rightly and justly deserves. This clearly shows that there is no contradiction between divine justice and mercy. Rather, the two go hand in hand, with justice flowing from mercy as its most natural consequence. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.